Not exactly the piece of information I think any of us were expecting today, certainly not if you're a Bruins fan. What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and yeah, the big news out of the NHL today, Boston Bruins goaltender Tuukka Rask opting out of the remainder of these NHL playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, COVID Cup, whatever you want to call it, all the rhetoric and discussion there. He has chosen not to play. He's exercised his right. He will be leaving the Toronto bubble, if he hasn't left already, presumably to head back home. Now, I would like to talk for a minute on what my first impressions were on the whole situation, and I'm a lot more interested, to be perfectly honest, in hearing from you folks who are watching, especially if you're in this fan base, if you are a Boston Bruins fan or backer. How does this make you feel? Like, what do you feel about this whole situation? And again, it seems just very weird and very much came out of nowhere just a few hours before a game 3 that Boston then just went out and won 3-1, backed by very solid goaltending by Jaroslav Halak. Two things very quickly. Number one, Jaroslav Halak is a capable NHL goaltender. So it's not like Boston is completely 100% left out in the lurch. Like, Jaroslav Halak has done this before. Granted, it was like 10 years ago, and he doesn't have a ton of playoff experience since then. No one was really expecting that, and it was on the back of great goaltending by Jaroslav Halak. So he is more than capable. The other part of this conversation is Tuukka Rask didn't really do anything offside here. Other than the timing of it being so close to the beginning of a hockey game, other than that, like, he exercised a right that players all have. The players have the right to opt out of this if they don't want to be there anymore. So he didn't really do anything offside. I think a lot of people are going to really argue the timing of it. So again, when I first saw this happen, I had two very distinct thoughts that went through my head. The first one is, he must have just found out that someone in his family is immunocompromised. He just must not feel comfortable sort of being in this situation, even though he's away from them and they're within a bubble. But the more reading on the topic I did, it didn't seem like that was the case. So I had to kind of default to my second opinion, which is to employ a professional wrestling term because I'm an adult and everything goes back to pro wrestling. Tuukka Rask cracked up. This was a pro wrestling term that was pretty popular in the 80s and 90s, but it even extends to today. When you were a wrestler and you were on the road for weeks at a time, I'm in my 16th different motel room in 24 nights, and you just go in, you look in the bathroom mirror, and the mirror proverbially cracks, and you say, you know what, screw it, I'm done, I'm going home. It very much felt to me like Tuukka Rask looked in the bathroom mirror, it proverbially cracked, and he said, you know what, screw it, I'm going home. But then again, the more reading I did, the more these quotes about how, I don't like the intensity of these games, and seemingly blaming that on the fact that there's no crowd, and saying, it's not real playoff hockey. And maybe this is just really a negative reaction to the fact that the Bruins have not played all that well, or certainly didn't play all that well in the round robin, and maybe losing that number 1 seed. And there's all kinds of things that could potentially have played into a decision like this, and we'll probably never fully know. But that's why I'm very curious to hear from you, especially, again, if you are in this fan base for the Boston Bruins. How does this make you feel? How do you feel about your team right now? How do you feel about Tuukka Rask right now? And an important question too, do you think this hurts Tuukka Rask's legacy at all in the NHL and specifically with the Boston Bruins? And I feel like there's going to be two very diametrically opposed schools of thought there, because on the one hand, there's this large group that say, this playoff doesn't matter, it's the COVID Cup, this Stanley Cup is not legitimate, which I will argue it's less legitimate, but you still have to earn it. So I'm not going to argue it's totally illegitimate. But I think there's going to be a group there that are going to make those arguments and say, no, this doesn't matter, it doesn't hurt his legacy at all. But then you're going to have the other side, which I feel like is going to be the larger side, which is other sports fans in general. Because look, I'm right there with you. I'm a huge sports fan. We are habitual. We are ritualistic in a lot of ways. We are superstitious. We are very much pack oriented. And we are kind of fickle sometimes. So I don't necessarily know that this is a slam dunk easy answer to the question of whether or not this kind of hurts the legacy of Tuukka Rask. Like, yes, he's got a Stanley Cup. Yes, he's got a Vezina trophy. I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, but what have you done for me lately kind of thing. What you've done for me is now you've left the team. I'm not immediately going to subscribe to any of these possibilities. I don't really have a strong feeling on it one way or the other. That's why I'm so interested to hear from you. I can only put the possibilities forward. It's you guys that tell me how you're feeling about it. So I'm more than interested. I'm excited almost to hear how you feel about this whole situation. Let's get a great conversation going in the comment section below. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and I think there's still like 3 more games left to play, so hey, let's enjoy those.